Welcome back. Today we have a powerful soul, Amy Sanders. Someone that has been in the school of hard knocks, like you hear the word, from literally marrying the wrong person, going through the process of separation, single mom with nearly nothing, to a millionaire. Now, while the money is good, the money is never the thing we talk about here. What we love to focus on in our conversation is what happened in the trenches, what happened in the wilderness when she was in a dark place where she didn't trust herself, where she did all the wrong things, where she was having all these things, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I can't do this, and all of the things that you and I always have, these voices that we seem to have and we think they're special. She's had them, she's overcome them. And today I'm going to interview Amy Sanders about how to create a business and life that you love. Amy is someone who bought everything in the marketplace. The next funnel, and the next course, and the next guru, and the next retreat, and the next whatever the thing you're trying to buy right now. She bought it all, she went through it all, and every time things did not happen for her. And Amy's secret was when she stopped and started looking on the inside and saying, do I trust myself? I don't know where you are in your business or in your life, but if you feel stuck, if you feel like no matter what you have done all of the good things, all the right things, and somehow you're not happy where you're at, pull a stool, because this is going to be the training for you. This is going to be your masterclass. This is going to be the thing that you have been waiting for. Amy Sanders, welcome to the podcast. It's my honor to be having this conversation.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm excited for this conversation because I think all of us, if you're building a business, we have all had major ups and downs. It's never just a straight line up or like a straight line across, like if you're an employee, right? It's like ups, downs. It tests you on all of the different levels. And I've had success. I've also had more failures, right? But you have to go through the failures to get the success. And so, yes, very excited to be here. I'm honored. I love how you've positioned this podcast as a masterclass for people to walk away and really just learn and say, okay, this is what I can do. I think it's amazing. So thank you. Thank you.
I am so excited. First of all, the question I want to ask you is, what is it that we get wrong?
What is it that, say that one more time.
What is it that we don't get about business, failing, succeeding, and going in the marketplace and feeling like everyone is crushing it, but you're not. Everyone's strategy is working, but yours is no. People are getting results, they're making money, they're driving what cars, and you feel like you're the only person who seemingly doesn't have it figured out. Like, what is it that we are missing in all of the social media highs? Because I feel like that's what it is. It's real. And then you're like, why don't I have those things?
Yeah.
What are we missing?
I think what you're missing is the alignment with yourself, honestly. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So when you're doing all of the things and you're hustling and you're pushing, there's a lot that's going into that. Of course, you're doing the action. And if you are a female, it could be that you are living so much into your masculine energy that you're not really taking enough opportunity to live into your feminine, which is where a lot of stuff can more attract to you easily. So first of all, I commend you for doing all the things, but it doesn't have to be hard. And also, I've been there. I've been there where you're doing all the things and you're like, gosh, everyone else it seems easy everywhere else, and when you're comparing where you are on your path of entrepreneurship with someone else who has been down this road for like 10 years, also not very I think we do that a lot, right? We see, wow, look at where they're at. Look at all the followers they have. Look at their content. Look how beautiful this is. But we're maybe not understanding that they have a whole team behind them, or that they have learned and gone through the hard knocks already that you're just barely facing. And also their message is going to look different because they are different. They are different people. They have a different business. They have different unique geniuses, and you're just as amazing as they are. It's just learning how to use your genius and your strengths in your business and then letting it flow, because business can be fun. Like you can wake up and be like, I'm so excited to go to work today. And if that's you, yay, I congratulate you. And that's awesome. But a lot of times it feels heavy and it feels hard. And it's like, there's all the questions, the doubt, the imposter syndrome, but all of it plays a role in moving towards your success. It's okay. It's like okay to feel all the feels. But when you learn how to move from a place of alignment, which we'll talk a lot about, it will feel better and you won't have to work so hard. Things will they'll just flow. And that's an amazing place to be. It took me a long time to figure this out, by the way. I did everything the wrong way, I think, before I finally was like, wait, what if there's a different way? So yeah, we'll talk about it.
You are big about self-trust, trusting yourself.
Yes.
Why is that important in building a business or even a life that you love, that is authentically you, that is not a duplicate of somebody else? Why do we have to trust ourselves? And how do we even know that we're not trusting ourselves?
Yeah, gosh, so many things just came up for me right now. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. When it comes to building a business, well, first of all, let's back up and say, when it comes to building a life that you love, you cannot love it if you do not trust yourself, because those will be conflicting. And if you're not loving your life and you're not loving your business, then you're not going to be at peace. You're not going to fill and flow, and you're not going to be enjoying yourself. So how can you do that? It's by turning inward, and it's by truly getting real with yourself, getting real with what you're good at, what you love to do, what you're passionate about. It's really uncovering those layers. And sometimes we don't even know. Sometimes we're so used to copying other people that we stay in this other lane, and it will feel heavy and hard, and it will not be authentic. And if it's okay, I want to just back up a little bit to my childhood and tell a backstory about just what brought me down the path of being so far away from myself, so that they can understand that I'm not perfect at this. And I was so far away from myself that I had to learn it the hard way. So I grew up in a family that was very male dominant, male domineering, and it wasn't really okay to speak your voice, especially as a woman. So as a child, it's like I learned that I would get in trouble if I spoke up. I learned that it was something that like women are supposed to be quiet. We're supposed to just serve. We're supposed to once we're married, we're supposed to keep our husbands happy. And I am a loud person and I like to talk. And so that was completely out of alignment with who I was, to have to like play this quote role. And what that did was, fast forward, into my early adulthood, a man dated me for 3 weeks, proposed, and I said yes. And I said yes, not because I wanted to marry him. I said yes. My tummy was in knots. My heart was pounding. I had goosebumps all over, not because I was excited, but because I was scared half to death. And I felt completely sick because my body knew that I should not marry this man. And my head knew it too, but I was trained, I was conditioned to do what other people want. Essentially, two people is at the deepest level and self-betray at the deepest level. And so I said yes. I married him, and guess what? I also divorced him years later, right? 3 kids later, a lot of debt later. I ended up finally turning towards myself and asking myself what I want, because I was living a life that felt so completely out of alignment that I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror. My dreams, hopes, aspirations, none of those things really seemed like they could ever be accomplished by staying in my current situation. And with my 3 little kids, they're actually the ones that gave me the strength to move on and leave, because my boys, I didn't want them to think that this behavior that their mom is accepting and this relationship is okay. So I did leave because I didn't want my boys to accept that as normal and to then go on to create the same patterns in their lives. So that's gave me the strength, but that's also what gave me the fresh start to say, well, what do I who am I? What do I believe? And really peeling away all the layers so that at that point we can move forward. And that's where we can really start talking about, we're going to talk about my 3 A's to be able to thrive with with your business and your life, so you can create a business and life you love. And that's where I came upon my first day where I'm like, okay, I've got to really dig deep, because copying everyone else's things, trying to be someone that I'm not, none of this is working for me. And now I'm a broke single mom that can't pay my rent. Like, this is not what I thought my life was going to turn out to be. So I had to basically like slough off everything and start over on getting super real with myself. And that's where the very first day comes into play, which is awareness.
Okay. Let's first go back, Amy, because before we get to the solution, I want to be sure that we understand the problem.
Yes.
You said a lot in your story. First of all, you talked about conditioning. You've talked about programming. You've talked about trauma. And you've touched on a lot of things. And you've said you were not living true to yourself. You were living in fear. You had like you were afraid to speak your truth. And because of that, you were living a life where you were not leading yourself. And because of that, you started to make mistakes, and these mistakes caught up with you. And you were in a place where you literally didn't know who you were, because you couldn't trust yourself, because you had done so many mistakes that you didn't know who you were anymore. The thing that I see is most people think they can get the human being, put that human being in the closet, then they come on social media and be somebody else and build a business. I want you to talk to that, because it gives me chills when I see that, because that doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. But I want to talk about it because I want the person who's listening to us kind of go, that is my problem. Like, there's people who get their real life, the real problems, lock that in the cupboard and say, I'm going to stand up and start creating this business like I don't know, put on some other mask and start building this business out of air and expect people to come and follow. And I'm like, who are you fooling? I want you to talk to that. I want you to talk to that problem so that we can get on the same page before we solve it. Because if we begin solving it before people understand it, I don't think we'll be solving it. Give me some more meat to that problem, because I feel like it's a big problem in the markepalace. And people need to go, oh my God, yes. I want, really, when you see somebody like that, I want, if you're listening to us, I want your alarms to start going off. So if you're going to hire someone and you see those things, I want your alarms to go off, because I am just sick and tired of people selling people things, solutions they haven't gone through, answers they don't have. Like, I'm just tired of people who are just fake guruing themselves and leading people to a place where they haven't gone. Like, I'm just tired of it. So leave us there. Tell me more about how not being you is just not going to help you build the business, the life that you want. And then from there, let's start and kind of try and get out of the hole with the 3 A's. But like, first, take us in the hole and show us what's in there before we get out.
I love it. She's like, I'm reeling it back in. Let's get back to that meaty stuff. And I love what you said, especially because I did those things. I was trying to build a business. I was looking at everybody else's stuff. I was faking, like, from the outside in, it looked like I had the most perfect life, because we didn't talk about our money issues with anybody else. And because my husband and I, we were this good looking couple. We had these 3 like just perfect little kids. We went to church every week. We had these friends. And so no one truly knew the depths of despair that I was living in, the pain that I was living in, the abuse that I was experiencing. No one saw that, right? But what would I do? What would I post on social media? Exactly what you're talking about. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I would post, the happy smile, the kids, all the things, and I would try to build, and nothing would stick. And what I want to tell the listeners and you is that's why it's not sticking, is because it's not authentic. You are not being real and true to yourself. And when you come from that place of inauthenticity, when you are not being true to yourself, you will continually struggle. And it does not matter how many courses you buy, how many coaches you hire, how many ads you pay for. None of that matters, because it's still not going to work for you, because you're essentially lying to yourself about who you are as a person, about what you are going through. And truthfully, there is so much strength in showing up and telling your story, showing up and doing the work, and truly figuring out who you are, what your unique geniuses are, how you can build a business, putting those in the forefront. Like, what if I focus on those and who I am in that place? Then how will this go? People will start to be attracted to you. I mean, I have all the energy in the world. I always have. I was a fitness instructor teaching to 50 people in my class, packed the classes, motivated all of them. They all felt amazing. None of them knew what my inside life looked like. But on the outside, it was great, right? But I was just a mess. I never felt at peace. I was living in fight and flight. And that's the work. Like, when you figure out how to come to a place of alignment there, when you understand why you're not living in alignment, when you understand what you're actually capable of and what you're worthy of, when you come to that place, then your life gets exciting, and then your business can flow. But that I'm all about energy. Like, energy is, it just is, you know, energy is everywhere. And are you going to attract energy, AKA whatever that is? Money's energy, relationships are energy. What kind of energy are you attracting? If you're copying other people's content, it still is an energetic exchange that people will feel. They will not see you as you. People want you. People want to know why you're different. People want to know why you're cool, right? And we all are. We're all amazing in our own ways. Like, even the way you interview, very different, amazing. What you're doing is unique. Awesome. Keep going. And it probably feels good, because you're good at what you do.
It's interesting that you say that, because I recall when I was 2 years into the business, I'm now 45, going to 5. When I was 2 years into the business online, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and I was like, who is going to want to listen to someone in Uganda, which is just known for starvation and poverty and people having no water? And I was like, no one wants to hear anything about personal branding, about their message, about building their business from me. And I made it my problem. I said, no one is going to listen. I said, who in their right mind wants to understand anything about how to do these things? Like, it's not possible. And I listened to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins said, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, I don't think so. I listened to Oprah. Oprah said, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter where you come from. And I was like, I still didn't feel it. And one day I listened to this guy. He was called Eric. Eric had no arms and he had no legs. He has a business called, I think, Life Without Limbs Ministries. I saw him on stage. He had 1,000 times the energy I had, a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. He spoke and his energy slapped me around. And I was like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. Because there was nothing about Eric that qualified him to do the work he was doing. If I were to choose how he looked, the fact that he had no arms, he had no legs, I would disqualify him. And I would probably think he would never have so many people shouting and following him. And so when I looked at that guy, I was like, I can do this. Like, if that was my turning point, there's going to be people who decide to share their message just because I'm in Uganda and the only thing they know about Uganda is poverty and people dying of hunger. And so what I wanted to say here is whatever is the disqualifier may as well be the qualifier, may as well be the only reason that people want to buy from you, they want to hang out with you, because you have been able to stay besides that and kind of share your message. And so to your point of not wanting to look perfect or why it's not helpful, like, really people cling, like I was able to just cling on his muscle because of that. Like, he has no legs, he has no arms. If he can do it, I can do it. And from then I allowed myself to build a personal brand. And so I really just wanted to say that. But Amy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's the difference between one, authentic, two, calling for pity? Because I have seen people share things on social media that's like, huh? Well, I don't know that that's authenticity. I think that's calling for pity. And also, what's the difference between embodiment versus expansion? Because I feel like those two things they're confused. You have to expand, but at the same time, I don't know. You can be an imposter if you're not careful. So you have to embody whatever the vision is you're going to, or you're playing too small. But again, there's also this gap of imposter where you feel like, okay, this is probably not the right place to go. And I've seen people there who are trying to embody something. And for me, I felt like they were fraud. But there's also this authenticity, and then there's this pity, and then there's this playing too small and having an excuse for it. So what's kind of your experience with all those gray areas that I've mentioned? Because I've seen them and I'm like, no, like, holy no.
I love all these questions so much. Okay, they're so good. They're so good. So I want to speak to imposter syndrome first, and then I'll talk to the others. So imposter syndrome is in your head. Like when you start something new, it does not matter what it is that's new. It doesn't matter if it's a new job. It doesn't matter if it's an online business. When you start something new, you are not going to feel worthy, and you're going to have all these thoughts come up about why you can't do the thing. And all that is because your brain has been taught and trained to keep you safe. So imposter syndrome, it's like, yeah, who's going, and you had it, right? You're like, who's going to listen to me? Who's going to even want to talk to anyone from Uganda? But yet here you are. So imposter syndrome is like, you have to push through the imposter syndrome. And what I like to say to that is, welcome. It happens to all of us. And every time you hit a new level in your business, that imposter syndrome comes right back. And so when it does, I like to just look at it and be like, oh, yep, there you are. And not really give any power to it, because when I give power to that, I'm letting it take power away from me. And I want to keep all of my power. I'm a strong, confident person, and I need to stay in that power and in that energy to keep my mission moving forward. And that's what I want to offer you guys, is like, understand that imposter syndrome comes up. Yep, there it is. Welcome it, see it, say, hey, come take a seat next to me, but I'm not going to let you take me out. That's how I like to imposter syndrome. It's just going to be there every time you try something new, even with it's like basketball or yoga or whatever it is. It's going to come up like, oh, I shouldn't be here. And I want to just say, what if you stopped playing small or smaller, you downed yourself down? I'm not saying in the best words, but you know how when you shrink yourself smaller to fit into the room? What if you just never did that again? You never shrunk yourself smaller for the room. You showed up big wherever you were at, and then also put yourself in the rooms where big people like to play, because that feels amazing. It's just like, let's stay there. And then when imposter syndrome comes up, just give it a little pat on the back, pull up a chair and say, there you are, I see you, but I'm not going to let you take me down. So that's how I like to look at imposter syndrome. When it comes to authenticity, did you say on authenticity versus pity, or just on? I couldn't understand the last word. Was it?
I have seen people on social media trying to be authentic, but that looked like pity. And so I'm like, are you trying to be authentic, or are you calling for attention? Which is which? Because this doesn't feel authentic. This feels like you're calling for attention and calling it authenticity. I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I love that. When we think about being authentic, a lot of people are like, oh, let's air my dirty laundry and show everyone what's going on in my life, right? And that's where it looks like pity. And people are like, oh, and that person, when you're in that space, you're seeking attention, you're seeking validation, you're seeking certain types of things that are energetically at a lower level. And guess what? That's also what you're going to be attracting. And you interview people in business. And so when it comes to business, how much do I want to let people know about things that have gone in my past? I want to be authentic and be like, this is where I've been. And also, that's not where I stayed. It's like, here's my hero story. I'm using this so you can understand that you can too. And I think that's the difference, is like, here's the story. Yes, I've been through hard. We all have been through hard. What do we do with the hard? And are we copying, and are we not really truly saying what's on our mind? Because I think that's another thing that we do, especially online, is in our businesses, we get really scared to speak our truth. And I'm saying this, like, I really struggled with this, speaking my truth. I was taught to never speak up. And yet I'm a very talkative person. I was taught that it's not okay to play big. It's not okay to have a job. Like, I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom, which, by the way, I don't just say that that's not an important job, because it absolutely is. But for me, I wanted even more. I love to be a mom and I love to work. And so, but I was taught that that was not okay, that I would be judged for that. And so I had to work through my own conditioning through that. And so when it comes to being authentic, it's like, what feels good to me and true to me? How am I honestly showing up? What am I saying? Am I speaking from a place of authority and power and truth? Or am I speaking from a place of being watered down and trying to make people like feel bad for me? Because it's very, very different. You know, authentic, it feels good. It feels like you're being true to who you are. And for me, that looks like I am a powerful woman and I am someone who's super ambitious. But what it looked like when I was not being authentic to who I am was that when I was in a room of people, I would shrink myself down because I didn't want them to feel intimidated by me. I didn't want them to feel bad that I'm successful. I didn't want them to be uncomfortable. And so I was not being who I was, make them feel better without even understanding if I was making it up in my own head too. And that's what I wanted to say. Like, I don't know how they actually felt. I didn't ask them. I just assumed I don't want them to feel bad. I don't want them, you know, so I'm not going to say anything about my business. I'm going to, you know, when you're making good money, especially as women, we don't want to talk about it because other women might feel bad. Well, what if we did talk about it? What if it's okay? And it's not out of like bragging. It's not like I'm bragging about all this. It's about, guess what? We get to decide what our dreams are. We get to decide how we show up. We get to decide what we're worth. That's empowering. So are you being authentic to who you are? Are you being authentic to what you love to do, who you love to hang around, what you want to say? That's very different than, woe is me. Let me tell you how my day was that was awful, and let me post this picture of me crying. You know, like very, very different energies behind the two.
I like that. I'm just wondering, I have this thing where I don't remember most of the stuff that I share. Like, I don't remember. I don't want to remember because I don't care what I say because it's true. And so my husband says, don't you want to have some notes for that? I'm like, why? Because you might say something that you may want to say again. I'm like, yeah, because it's my truth. I remember all of it. And so for me, the person you find offline is the person you find online. The person you find on camera is the person you find off camera. If you met me in a grocery shop, you'd be like, you must be kidding me. Like, is there nothing different about this person? And so for me, what I thought authenticity, or what I think authenticity is being who you are wherever you go. But I have come to learn that there is ways to, what do they call it? To, I don't know, you show up, you adapt to different rooms. That's new to me because I have no idea how to do that. So I wanted to ask you about that and adapting to different rooms and being the same person, but like adapting to different situations. Like, do you understand that? How does that work? Because I have no idea. The Prima you have now is the Prima you have offline, and is the Prima you have in another place. Like, you can expect this. The only difference is I'll probably come on bare feet if it's a stage, or sandals or some sneakers. Like, that's, you don't see my shoes now, but that's the difference. But what does authenticity look like in that context for Amy Sanders? Like, tell me more about adapting to places, because I have no idea what it is.
Adapting to places. First of all, if you're the same through and through, no matter who comes through your door,
yeah,
I think that's powerful, and I think that's amazing, and I applaud that, because that is you being true to who you are, no matter who comes through the door. There are going to be different relationships, right? We have different relationships with different people, and different parts of us do come out because different relationships will pull out different parts of who we are. For me, being authentic in those spaces means that I am always honest. I am brutally honest, not in a way that's going to be mean, not in a way that is going to take someone else's like self-esteem down. It's not that. It's that I'm always going to be proud of how I show up, no matter who I'm with. I'm going to be proud of how I showed up for me. So I'm going to be honest. And if someone doesn't like something I say, I'm not going to be saying something that's going to be offensive to them, but I'm not going to lie to make them feel better. I'm not going to, if they ask my opinion and I give it truthfully, then that is my opinion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But relationships will pull out different parts of your personality. And I think that's okay. I have a group of friends that I've been friends with them since I was 12 years old. I mean, they've been through everything with me, right? It's a very long, and there's 8 of us. It's unreal that we're still friends. There's 8 of us. We've been friends since we were 12. They saw me through all of my puberty. They saw me in my first marriage, my second marriage, like everything. But they see a different version of me because they know me since I was 12. So I'm like going to be maybe more funky with them. We're having dance parties, all of the things. And I do like to have fun everywhere I'm at, but they pull a different part out of me, but I'm still being authentic to who I am. Does that make sense? But my husband, I mean,
I probably need to learn that, because right now I feel like every time I meet my best friend, we're fighting. And I'm like, should I just erase you? Like, she just wants, she's attached this identity. And I'm like, moved on. Like, I am no longer that. So like, I feel like she's not able to meet me where I'm at, and I'm not willing to go back where she is. And so for me, I feel like this relationship will die, because I feel like I don't know how to get back to where you are. And I don't think that you're very accepting of who I've become. So every time I speak to my friend, it's like, she's giving me advice and I'm like, please stop. Please stop. Like, please stop. Like,
well, I also love that you bring this up, because sometimes relationships do change, and sometimes the gap gets too big. And when it comes back to my friends who I was 12, they know that I'm an achiever. They know that I'm ambitious. They know that I always have multiple businesses going on. I'm investing in things and whatever. They know that I live a really busy life, but they also don't want to hear about it all. But we don't, and it's not that I keep that from them and I shrink myself smaller. They know what I'm doing. They know who I am. They see my posts. But that's just really not something we talk about, and that's okay. We talk about other things. We talk about our kids. We talk about, you know, whatever it is that comes up. But with what you're saying with your friend, when people stop to accept who you are and your growth, and they're trying to put you back in a box of maybe who you were, when that is happening, you have 2 options. You can accept them as like, okay, they don't really accept where I'm going, and that's okay, but I still love them and I want them in my life. Or you just say, this relationship is now pulling me down and it's no longer worth my time, because they are not allowing me to be who I am and to allow me to grow into the version of myself that I know I'm capable of doing. And that's where you then, you know, start to put yourself in other rooms. I know for me, when I started making and actually saying it, I mean, it took me a long time to even talk about when I made my first $1 million, because I felt like that was really bragging. But I'm like, well, in business, I know that they can't. So I wouldn't talk about it. But then I was like, it was lonely because I couldn't talk about it with the people I was with. And I needed to put myself in rooms where women were out making me, and where it was okay to talk about that money. And it was okay to talk about some of the business pains that happen when you are at different levels and you don't know what to do because you don't know who to talk to, because that just doesn't really resonate, you know? So you can put yourself in rooms and create new relationships that do accept this growing version of yourself, while also living with other relationships that you look at, okay, I love where these are at, and I still love them and I still want to be with them, but I'm still going to be true to who I am. I'm not going to shrink from who I am to be with them, because then you again are taking away from your authenticity, and essentially you are self-betraying. And when you're self-betraying, things do not feel good.
Yeah, for
and when
sure.
things don't feel good, that's when those red flags are up. Like, okay, what's going on?
For sure. So I want to pivot to the L's. I want to pivot to how we can have the business and the life that we want. How do we have our best life and our best business? How do we get the clients, the money, the love, the best life, whatever that is, once as well building a business that just feels like magic. Take us there, Amy. I would love to dive into the L's or your signature framework or your thought leadership and break it apart and give people something they can take and apply today to see a shift in how they're doing things. Where should we begin?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, where should we begin?
Let's do it. We can talk about things for so long, I'm sure. So the 3 A's to creating the business that you love. The first one starts with awareness. And awareness is truly becoming aware of everything that's going on. This means how you're showing up in your business, the actions that you are taking, the actions that you're taking outside of your business, like in your relationships, how you're showing up for you. Like there are so many questions that you can ask yourself here. It's truly understanding the thought model, which we can go into. I call it the thought model. And the thought model is understanding that when it comes to our brains, we just kind of run on autopilot. We let our subconscious mind take us and we just kind of run on autopilot, and we end up doing everything around what we already know. And when we show up in that space, we're essentially doing things that might not be alignment with what we are doing. Are we still okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure because the camera went off for a second. So when it comes to the thought model, and becoming aware, you're asking yourself all of the different things that are going on, and it starts with circumstance. So when it comes to circumstances just are, meaning that they can be proven in a court of law, meaning that whatever, like if you hop on a scale, whatever that number is, that is your circumstance for the day. That is how much you weigh. When it comes to your business, the whatever X dollars of money you've made that month, that is your circumstance. But it's what we think about our circumstances that really trip us up. And we like to function from our autopilot, which is our subconscious brain, and we don't really check in with ourselves. So when it comes to thoughts, our thoughts around our circumstance, our thoughts are truly what trip us up. How we think about our business, how we think about ourselves, how we think about like even the life, like when I was in my relationship with my first husband, it's like I truly had to get deeply honest with myself at that point and the thoughts that were coming up. So when it comes to your thoughts, they have been scientifically proven that we have around 60,000 plus thoughts a day. If you're a thinker type personality, you're going to have even more. Unfortunately, 90% of those are on autopilot from your subconscious brain, and they're not true. So if you think about that you're basically lying to yourself about some circumstance, like I can't do it. That's a thought. I'm not worthy. My business won't grow. Even with you, some thoughts, who's going to listen to me? You know, all of these are thoughts that we're telling ourselves. And as we're telling ourselves these thoughts, I'm not worthy of a happy relationship. I don't know how to make money online. All of these are thoughts. They're not true. However, they breed up feelings and we act from those feelings. So when you have a thought that no one is going to listen to my podcast, what kind of feeling came up for you? Feelings of discouragement, right? Feelings
of discouragement, procrastination, not even doing the things that you need to do for people to get the episodes, or not even doing a good job when you show up because you already think they're not going to listen, they're going to be interested on all of those things, because it's like self-sabotage before you even do the thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So when it comes to our thoughts, basically you're telling ourselves lies all the freaking time. We're on autopilot. They breed up a feeling, and from those feelings we act, which is what you were just saying. When you were recording a podcast, your action was that you weren't being very good at it, because like no one's listening anyway. When you were procrastinating, that's an inaction. You're like, well, I'm not going to do the thing because why? You're also ruminating in more thoughts that this isn't going to work for me. So why am I even trying? You know, so all of these things come up just because we had a thought about it. It's like we have a thought and then we just get totally caught up and lost in all of these proofs. We're trying to prove our thought true, which it's not even true, that it's not going to work for us. And when we do that, that creates our result in our life. And so the thought model is a good starting point when it comes to awareness, my first A, because when you are hyper aware of what you're actually telling yourself and you pause long enough, and this is the most important piece, I think, when you pause long enough to ask yourself, is this thought actually true? You'll start to realize that the majority of the time it's not. And just choosing another thought, like you choose another piece of clothing, like I'm not going to wear this today, I'm going to put on this instead. You can look at your thoughts that way, like, okay, I'm going to put on that thought instead, that these people have been able to have a successful podcast, so why can't I?
I like that. Look at your thoughts as like, I don't like this shirt, I'm going to try another. I don't like these shoes. Thoughts are like shoes that don't fit. So if the thought is not serving you, consider it like a shoe, which looks nice, but once you start walking, it's not comfortable. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, just like a little analogy where you can switch it up, right? You're like, okay, it's a really cute outfit. This one is not. This shoe is uncomfortable. This one, you know, whatever it is, however you want to see it. But when it comes to your thoughts, understand that you're having a ton of them every single day. What am I wearing? What am I going to eat? What am I going to do in my business? And then all of the imposter syndrome thoughts that can come up, all of the comparison thoughts that can come up, all of these thoughts come up, but the majority of them are not true. And so coming back to yourself, which is the next A, like coming back to that alignment and truly seeking truth, because the truth just is. It doesn't matter what happens. Truth will stand the test of time. So when you're being honest with yourself and when you're being true to who you are, things work so much better for you and it feels good. You're not beating yourself up in the head anymore. And that's essentially what it is. When you're letting these thoughts take over, you essentially are just beating yourself up between the ears. You're punching yourself in the face, but you're doing it through your thoughts.
So I'm stuck between the thoughts, because now I'm like, thoughts, feelings. You think about something crappy. Like when I think about something crappy, I'll be like, who said? Why should I even believe this? So if I think something like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know, like I believe I'm not interested in designing, creating websites, creating cute things like colors. I'm like, yeah, just put the word there. Enough is enough. And then I go like, but who said I can't design stuff? Where does that come from? And is that the thing like I want? Like, do I really want to be being able to put my art to life? Like, am I saying I don't want to express myself? And so I like what you're saying, which is like thoughts leading to feelings, feelings leading to actions, actions leading to the results. And so if you choose your thoughts, you can choose your result. And now we're going to alignment. But before we dig deep in alignment, I wanted to ask if the thoughts we have, if the feelings we have about ourselves, if the beliefs we have about ourselves are coming from the patterns, the programs. Like you're born, you're a little baby, you had the cup from your mother. Your mother who received it from your grandmother who received it from her grandmother. So you have a cup and it kind of has dirty stuff inside. And you begin to drink. And by the time you're old enough to make your own decisions, you are making them from the patterns, the programs, and everything that has been handed over to you. So how do we move from that place to alignment if we're still holding the cup? Walk me through that journey from awareness to alignment, if it makes sense.
I love this question, bridging those two, right? So you are absolutely right that we are programmed, and we're programmed from what we were taught as a kid and also deeper, like in our DNA. So we are programmed. However, that doesn't mean we can't deprogram. I kind of like to think of us as computers. Like our brains can totally reprogram. We can resynapse throughout our lives. It used to be that we thought we could only do this up until like our 50s and 60s, but science has proven that we can retrain our brains well into our 80s, 90s. We can develop memory patterns. We can do all kinds of things that we don't think that we can. And when you look at other people that are really successful and things seem to be working out for them, I'm like, well, they believe that they can, and they're in alignment with what their passion is, their purpose is. And so, yeah, things are working for them. They're attracting more. So when it comes to bridging that, I like to think in analogy because I think it helps, but I like to look at it as, yes, you're on this well-driven path. You're hiking, you've hiked this path a million times. It's, you know, all the ups and downs of the path, you know, the inclines, the declines. There's no rocks in your way anymore. It's just this like well-defined path. That is your brain. And that's also from all the conditioning, everything else that's happened in your life up to this point is on that path. And what I'm asking you to do is bridge what can be, looking at like even things that you believe, like I'm ugly, like terrible thought, but it might be like a really deep belief, or my family can't make money, you know, like whatever it is, a very deep belief. So thoughts become beliefs when you think about them, when you think them over and over and over and over, then they become deep-rooted beliefs. And you probably have a lot of them from conditioning and from your DNA. So what I'm asking you to do is trust the process, that whatever has been up to this point in your life doesn't have to be your reality forever. And I'm asking you to now step onto a new path that is completely crowded with weeds. You are bushwhacking, you are cutting down trees, you are creating a new path, basically new neural pathways in your brain, that things can be different, and trusting that they will be different. And sometimes it takes kind of like a bridge thought, like I'm choosing to believe that this business can work for me. I'm choosing to believe that I'm worthy of making $10,000 and beyond, or $100,000 and beyond, whatever it is. It's like you might have to have a bridge thought in the beginning, but when it comes to becoming aware, once you become aware and you're using the thought model and you're tuning into your body, it's like a lot of things don't work for you anymore. You're like, I'm aware now. It's like this awakening that you have in this place of awareness, which then sets you up for alignment. And so it's like you might have to have some bridge thoughts in the meantime. You might have to just be kind to yourself as you trip up, because you'll want to go back to the path that paved. You're used to it. That is what your subconscious brain wants to do. And you're telling it, guess what? I'm doing things differently. Your little inner child wants to stay safe and wants to do what it already knows, which also could be allowing abuse in your life, which also could be continually making bad money-making decisions, because that's what you're conditioning, what you're used to doing. And I'm saying, no, you can choose to do something new, become aware, challenge your thoughts, challenge how you're showing up, and then move into alignment, which is bringing the body, mind, and soul into alignment. And that's, I want to take you back to when I got proposed to. I could not be further from myself in that moment. And my body was screaming at me. Like, your body will talk to you if you take time to listen. And you can ask yourself, and when I say your body, I'm talking about all of it. Feeling good in your brain, your heart, your gut, feeling alignment all the way through, asking yourself the questions and seeing what comes up, journaling. When you come into alignment and you're having your soul and your heart and your mind working together, that's where, oh my gosh, you become unstoppable. That's where abundance starts to come in, because everything will work for you, because you've let go of a lot of these behaviors like people pleasing. You trust that you have the right answer instead of seeking it externally, like, oh, let me learn this new course, let me learn this new thing, let me learn what this other person is doing, which education's great. But when it's not in alignment with your mission, that's when it doesn't really work. And so it's like you're tuning inward, trusting, like, how do I feel about this coach that I'm going to hire? How do I feel? And you truly, I do what I call a sway test a lot of times. And I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but you can literally stand up and ask yourself lies, and you're going to sway either forward or backward with the lie, and also with the truth. So if I know that for me, if I call myself the wrong name, and I'll test myself, I'll be like, okay, when it comes to making a business decision, or when it comes to relationship, whatever, like I'll use the sway test just to check myself. I'm like, am I being true to me? And if I sway backwards, then it's not aligned with me. If I sway forwards, then it is. And it sounds kind of crazy, but it works. And so it's like, I know that my yeses are forward. I know that my no's are backward. And so what I'll do is I'll lie to myself to make sure that these are working. I'll tell myself some truths, and then I'll dig into the real questions that I want to ask. And then from there, meditation, journaling, all of these things are inside of you. It's like you're a very old soul. We've been around for a very long time. We're now just using these bodies, right? So what if we truly believe that you have all of the answers inside you and that you are unique? And what if you leaned into your unique qualities and attributes and geniuses, and you come from those places? You're going to feel more at peace. You're going to feel like you can deeply trust yourself, and you're going to be more in harmony. And that's what I'm asking you to do, is just understand you do have the answers inside of you. You can ask other people to help you expose those, but ultimately, you can know, and it will feel good. It will feel like, yes, this is it. This is me.
Like it. Let me see if I understand what you're saying. Is there more to the process? You want to give more before I even kind of go through what I've understood?
No, you can go through it. Let's do it.
So this is what I'm picking up. The first step is awareness. People call it consciousness. But it's really the decision that you don't want to be carrying your generational beliefs with you. The decision that you want to choose your patterns, you want to choose your programs. You want to choose your own operating system. Are you going to be a Windows or a Linux? Or what is going to be your operating system? Up to today, or whatever the time is, you've been running on auto. You probably were bored, and it's a Windows machine, and it's been there, and it's done what it's done. And at a point where you're like, no, I feel like I'm built for more than this. And now you can decide to erase and configure the things you want. What do you want to believe? What do you want your values to be? What do you want to build? What do you want? Like, you can reset. You can wipe the system and reinstall new programs. The awareness is the awareness of where you're at, what you're holding in your cup, and the decision to pour it and clean the cup and have a clean cup. Like, that's what I understood with the awareness. You can choose. You can choose the type of life you want. You can choose the type of love you want. You can choose the type of business. Like, you can make the choices. You can move from auto to deciding. You can decide how you're going to respond to life. You literally can decide what you want. B is alignment. Alignment, how I understood it, is more like tuning in. Moving from the brain and trying and getting your body accessing its wisdom, because it has wisdom. And the way you do this is by silencing everything else. And you talked about meditation, talked about journaling. There's so many ways people can do this. I like to walk in nature. I like to do nothing. Like, I am the kind of person, my husband knows if I'm doing nothing, I'm doing nothing, and he's not welcome. I'll just sit there for hours, and he'll come and say, is that like the nothing box? I'll be like, yeah. And he's like, okay. Like, I like to do nothing, especially when I do like heavy, all-in immersion type of stuff. I take a day and I will usually do nothing, like nothing. And so if that's you, but like, how can we begin to move from the head to the soul? From the head maybe to the heart. From the head, maybe, like, how can you begin to listen to your inner wisdom, your body, I don't know, I'll give you an example. When I'm angry, I ask myself, what is the value that I haven't communicated to that person that they're stepping on? When I'm scared, or when I feel fear or anxious, my body is saying to me, why are you living in the future? If I ever feel depressed, which I don't feel depressed, what I ask myself is, why is this person living in the past? Like, depression Is my body telling me that right now you're trying to live in the past? And that's not okay. So like, how can you begin to listen to your body, your inner intelligence, because it knows better? So what I understand as alignment was literally moving away from external looking to internal looking for guidance. Less about the next book and the next course and the next retreat, more into the next crew and the next guidance and the next download, so that whatever you're trying to get outside has come from inside and not the other way around. Now, where I'm failing to understand is now where the abundance is jammed. Like, what is the abundance part of the whole thing? And how am I doing when it comes to kind of trying to figure out what you do?
Yeah. Coming back to the alignment, you're absolutely right. It's like your body will speak to you, but you have to listen. And you were asking yourself the questions. I'm hungry. Okay. My body is telling me I'm hungry. What am I going to put in my body? You know, my body is scared. So asking yourself those questions, but in order to even tap into your body, you have to give yourself space to do it, which it looks like you do. You give yourself some space to do it. You go take a nature walk, you do nothing, which is okay, right? It's like we need to take care of our souls and feed our souls in the way that makes us feel expansive. And you did ask the difference earlier. You're like, okay, expansive versus did you say?
It's like being able to expand. So like the more I've done this work into the sixth sensory, the more I'm getting to understand the ability to expand for whatever the new horizon you're stepping in. But then I also sense a very good place where you can be an imposter. And so there's playing too small, and then there is expansiveness and building capacity. And then there is a point, I think, above which your internal system says, no, now you're being an imposter. And there's a place where you can expand and it's okay. And you're building capacity and it's okay. And there's a place where, for me, my internal gauge says, no, Prima, no, that's an imposter now. But I don't know how others, I feel it, like it says, come back. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're tuning, and that's, I love this question, because when you are in alignment with yourself, you feel expanses, like you feel the expansion. It comes from within. It's not the expansion of I'm hitting this next goal. I'm making X number of dollars here. And now I'm going to work for this. And I'm going to like expand myself or my bandwidth. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you are in alignment, you will feel expansive. And because you're in alignment, things will feel easier. They will feel like they are in flow. You will be able to handle maybe really big things a lot easier than you would have otherwise, because you're in alignment and you're listening to your soul. And when you're listening to your soul, and it will come out in different ways, when you're listening to your soul, you get amazing downloads. Like you're like, oh, that is the next step in my business. Oh, I haven't thought of that. It's like your soul will talk to you, but you need to be quiet enough to listen. You need to put yourself in places where you can ask yourself those questions. And when you're in alignment, abundance follows. And abundance is going to look different. Like abundance is a word that can be used for multiple things. People think of abundance and they think of money. They think of abundance and they think of maybe expansion. They think of abundance and they think like you have an abundant life, meaning your relationships are really flourishing, or, so abundance can mean a lot of things. But when you are aware of how you've been and you're ready to play big, like you're ready to choose your life, which you really do, you choose your life. So when you move from awareness and you're choosing how you want to show up now, you're choosing the actions you want to take, you're choosing what is meant for you, and you're doing it from alignment, abundance comes through. And there's ways for us to practice abundance. So these two things, you play with these two things, the third one will follow as long as you are truthfully playing these two things. But when it comes to abundance, there are action steps that you can take. Like when it comes to abundance, how are you manifesting? And that's what gets really fun. Like testing manifesting is like, mainstream now, everyone talks about it. People are like, yeah, I'm manifesting, but are you doing it correctly? Like manifesting is actually something that is very active. It's not just thinking up something big and then knowing that, because you think about it all the time, it's going to come to play. It's like you've planted a seed, and now what are you going to do to take care of that seed? And an example of this in my life was, and a lot of times when it comes to manifesting, like living in abundance and attracting more, vibing higher, allowing, just to truly trusting that you have the answers, and that's where the alignment is. So you're truly moving from self-trust, knowing that if I'm moving from self-trust, what I want is going to come. It's going to come, but maybe not on, like, I can't put a timeline on it. Sometimes you can, but a lot of times it's like, it will work. You're trusting the universe that it's going to bring the answers to you. You're trusting the universe and yourself that you will understand how to make the next step. And this comes to play with like your marketing strategies. You pick the correct marketing strategies because you trust that you have the right answers and they actually work for you. This is very different than what we were talking about at the beginning of the session, right? It's like you're moving from self-trust. You have done your homework, you understand where you need to go. And then you maybe, if you need to hire the right person, you hire the right person actually works because you're in alignment. When it comes to abundance and manifesting, like I just was saying, things work because, again, you're moving from self-trust. An example of this for me was that I wanted a really fancy pool in my backyard. And that's a material thing. Not everyone, wants that. It was something I wanted. And I wanted it because I wanted my house to be the party house for all of my kids. We have lots of kids. My husband and I have 7 kids together. So that's a lot of people. And they also bring their friends. I wanted our house to be a house that people felt comfortable in. I wanted us to have a killer backyard pool. I had no idea at the moment when we started putting this idea of putting a pool in the backyard. My husband's like, we're years away from that. And in my head, I was like, I don't think so. I think we could have it done in the next 8 months in my head. Now, financially on paper at that moment, it made no sense. 0 sense at all. But I had planted the seed that I think this could happen. I have no idea financially how this is going to happen, but I'm going to trust that it can, because the result, even though it's a material thing, the result of what it can do for our family and for our relationships and for the people coming to our house, that experience, I want that. And I want that from like a good place. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to figure it out. And so I put it out there that this is happening. I put it out there that I think I could have this in the next 8 months or so. 7 months later, we had a beautiful pool in our backyard, and financially it all worked out. It made no sense on paper, but I figured it out and it worked. And so that's just like one little thing. Like manifesting gets to be fun with you're in alignment of your why and you like your choice. It's like, this choice feels good to me. This is why I like this. This is why this is going to work for me. I don't necessarily know all of the steps, but I'm going to take the next step. And as I take the next step, I'll take the next step. And as you continually go down that path, it's amazing at what you can do. It's like the pool is just, a material thing, but it's a good example. And so it's like when you are living in alignment, abundance will follow, even though you do have actions that you might need to take. I needed to find a pool guy. I needed to figure out how I am going to fund this thing. How can I get creative? Like I got creative that this can happen. And then I got creative of how I'm going to, execute, and it all came together. And so that's just one example. It's like, put forth the action, trust yourself, and know why. Like, why is it that this is important to you? And then you'll be living in abundance. Because again, abundance is going to be different for every single person. For me, I love to travel. I love to spend time with my family. And I do love to build businesses. So for me, that's what abundance looks like to me, but that's going to look different to other people.
This conversation could end in a few places. So give me a second. So let's go back. Talk about this abundance thing. Talk about this manifesting thing, because I feel like the next time I see somebody manifesting and saying you don't need to lift a finger, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to pull them off the internet and drown them in a pool. So walk me through the actual way that manifestation works. If someone is like me, like I am literally on the fence, and the next time someone says I am manifesting and I'm not lifting a finger, I can guarantee if they are close to me, I don't know what I'll do to them. So walk us through, like I am one of those people who are on the fence about even using the word because I feel like it's so misleading. So walk us through really and I've manifested things. I've manifested, my husband came from UK to Uganda. I've never been to the UK, but I don't call it a manifestation. I just call it like having a clear intention, putting it in the world and letting like my angels take care of it. But I want someone who is on the fence with manifestation or doesn't get it, or they've been manifesting and things are not happening. I want them to be very clear, like what needs to happen for manifestation to come to life. Because a lot of being in the head doesn't help. So we probably don't need to know everything about how it's going to happen. We don't have to have the A to Z of it. So there's a lot of being in the body, in the soul, but also it needs to make sense for at least somebody in the five sensory. Like they need to understand, if I'm going to manifest, like, what's the point of this? Where am I going? For somebody who is not in the sixth sense fully, and they are still manifesting and I don't know, doubting and, you know, not believing they can get the thing, and the thing doesn't come because you're not 100. Like, give us kind of your best, the best way you can explain manifesting at the highest level for someone who's like, I want to manifest, but I have no idea, or it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. So good. First of all, I do think you manifested your husband. You put the clear intention out there. You trusted the angels. That's essentially manifesting in like a really small nutshell.
I have to get another word. Manifestation hasn't clicked for me. It must be a limiting belief or a pattern. I just haven't felt good about the words.
Yes. And I do love it because it is mainstream and people are like, oh, I'm manifesting this. Manifesting is a very active thing. People believe that if I just say these mantras and I just say them all the time and I just sit here and think about it, that it's going to happen for me. Now you are putting the energy out there, sure, but manifesting is active. It's like you write down. So an easy like manifesting process is you write down what it is that you want.
Okay. How detailed is the thing? Is it, I want a, I don't know, whatever, like how detailed do you have to be at the thing you want?
Yeah. Truthfully, as detailed as possible is going to be best. Because the more detailed, like the more you can visualize it, the better.
Okay.
And so I know I just said my pool project, what I wanted. So I had a whole project mapped up of what I wanted the pool to look like. I had it architecture, like everything is done. On paper, but financially it didn't make any sense like at the time. So write it down, as much detail as possible. And if you want to, like, I do believe that writing out mantras are a good thing. When you write out mantras and you continually write them out every single day, honestly, if you do it at the beginning of the day, like early morning or before you go to bed, your subconscious mind is going to be more attuned to listen. And that's what you're essentially trying to trick. Your subconscious mind works on autopilot and it just shows up every single day. We're kind of just doing our thing on autopilot. And so we want to trip up that autopilot. We want our subconscious mind to believe that this is already happening. And so when you speak in the now, instead of speaking like I in the future want this thing or someday, when you talk in now, like I have a backyard pool that is beautiful that I spend time with I spend time with my family every single day. Like it's in the positive and you're saying it all the time, then your brain can be like, huh. And it can truthfully go to work for you. When you work with energetics, you're attracting different things into your life. And the same holds true when it comes to manifesting. The difference, though, that most people do not make or understand, that if you do not believe that it can happen for you, it will not. Because your subconscious brain also knows that that's a lie. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up. If you're not actively seeking out the thing, like figuring out how you're going to do it, while also writing out in the present and truly believing that it can happen for you, it won't happen. Because your subconscious will call you out. You're a liar. This isn't going to happen. Energetically, it's going to land flat. And so you don't have to have all of the details of how it's going to happen. You do put faith in the universe. You put faith out there that this is coming for me. I am doing all of the things. And in a matter of time, it can come. I love the book Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read it, read it, by Napoleon Hill. It's an amazing book on faith, and it's not called Manifesting, but it truthfully is like, it's a lot around faith and manifesting. And there's a quote in there that I read at a very young age. I think I was like 18 years old, and I still quote it because it's so true. But whatever the brain can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Now, if there's, you know, a thought in your head of what you want to become or where you want your business to go, or whatever, if it's in there, that means that it's been conceived. The next step is believing it. If you do not believe it, which means, again, coming back into alignment, looking at your thoughts of your awareness, where you're going, like all those things. If you do not believe it, it will not come true to you, which is the same as manifesting. It will not happen for you. However, if you believe that it can, you just don't know how yet. You're like, this is going to happen for me, but I'm just not sure how yet, but I'm going to keep taking the next step. That's the active part. When you do that, you can achieve it. So whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I'm, you know, that talks about the mind, but again, that is being in alignment with yourself, that yes, this can happen for me. I am worthy of this. A lot of times people want something, but they, on a subconscious level, don't truly feel worthy of it. And so they self-sabotage. That's why people end up in debt again. That's why people end up in bad relationships again. That's why their business continually struggles. It's like they're out of alignment and they don't truly believe that they're capable of having that big thing that they want. And so when you talk in the present moment that I already have this thing, and you're conditioning your brain early morning, late at night, writing the thing every single day, while believing it is happening for me, I am going to meet the next person. It can happen. And I just want to talk about, like, real quick, a story that my husband shared with me yesterday. So he was down at business lunch, and there's this really massive company. It's this multi-billion-dollar company here where we live. And he was meeting with the CEO yesterday, and he just asked the CEO the story. The CEO was down to their last $20,000 in business. They had no idea they were going to have to shut their doors. They had no idea how they were going to figure it out, but he had a big dream of what this business could be. Huge dream. Okay. Had no idea how he was going to get there. And they were down to their last $20,000 in funding. And he went to the financial guy and said, hey, I know we only have $20,000 left. There's this booth in Vegas that's $20,000. I want to go there. The financial guy's like, you are crazy. We have to shut our doors. And he's like, no, let's go. But then he had to go into another $20,000 just to even put product in the booth. Well, long story short, it was a security type business. The security guy from Walmart, the company Walmart, who's, you know, massive company, walks up to their booth. The guy does not even see his name tag, doesn't know where he's from, but just talks from his heart to this guy. The guy signs on the dotted line right then. Okay. The head security guy of Walmart signs on the dotted line for their security system. And guess what? The rest is history. He had a dream. He took action. It did not make any sense at all, but he did not stop. And you never know when the next door is, where, like, you never know who's going to hear you and who's going to say, okay, yes. And then you get your big break. You just don't know when things are going to happen for you, but you can just, if you can move forward with trust and be like, okay, I have a dream, and this is this intention of this dream, and this is why this is good for me. This is why this needs to become whatever it is, a reality for me. It can happen for you. It can happen. And it doesn't matter how big, it doesn't matter how small. I'm going to tell you to think big, go as big as you want, because again, if it's on your brain, if it's on your heart, then that is your soul speaking to you, telling you that you can have it and you're worthy of it. So listen, stop listening to everybody else out there. Listen to yourself, listen to your soul, and trust and believe that it can happen for you, because it absolutely can.
I really love this answer. I've never called it manifestation, but I know that when you're dead serious about things, they happen. So if you're on the fence about manifesting like me, this is what I've understood. This is my truth. And I still want to call it manifestation. I think I'll look for a word, maybe manufacturing. I don't know. I'll look for a word, because there is action to be taken here. So what I've understood is, like, set the intention. I don't know how. For me, I had like 2 pages of what I needed to see in my husband. 2 pages. 1 page back and forth, another page, back and forth. I think those were 4. My best friend looks at the paper and says, Prima, you must be out of your freaking mind. Which man on this planet Earth fits on 4 pages? 2 papers, which I call 2 pages, but like 4 pages. And I looked in the sky and said, you're right. This man possibly doesn't exist. But instantly, I flipped and said, this is going to be me. I'm going to become these papers. And I literally started becoming those 2 pages. Must have been 4 years later. I was dead serious that if I never saw the man in my head, I wasn't going to get married. My husband showed up. I kid you not, I had a Zoom call with him because we met online. Saw my story and was like, I mean, this is my wife. She doesn't know it yet. Called his dad, called his mom. He said, I found my wife. They were like, really? Where is she? And she's in Uganda. Okay. Is she around here in the UK? I was like, no. Okay. Have you talked to her? He's like, no. They're like, how is your wife? Like, because I'm going to Uganda. And they're like, okay, where did you meet this girl? Like, I met her online. I'm about to tell her. I'm so excited. I'm going to Uganda. And they were like, huh, did you think there was some slowing down needed? And I was like, no. And so when I talked to him and he was telling me all those stories, what was funny is that it wasn't scary for me. I was like, okay, this doesn't sound scary, even though I think he's out of his mind. But this feels like I have known him forever. And so I was like, okay, maybe your mom is right. Maybe you need to slow down. Maybe you need to think twice. Right now, you're a strange man in the UK. I'm a strange girl in Uganda. And you are getting on the plane to see a girl you've never seen. And you don't want to think about it. You don't want to slow down. It's like, I don't need to. And I'm like, hold on. I need to consult my guides first. And so he's like, as you do that, I'll be packing my things and putting them on storage. And I'll just stay at my friend's house and wait for you to tell me to come. And I'm like, come. You can do whatever you want. And I go into my spiritual world and I start asking my angels. I'm like, is this the guy? Is he a crazy guy? And everything was like, yeah, he's a guy. He's a guy. He's like, I'm like, oh, okay. Long story short, the guy comes here. He's like, I want to come there physically so you can see that I'm a normal person. I'm not a crazy person. I will take a hotel for a year, and whenever you're ready, we can get married. And I'm like, okay. And he starts, 12 months later, we got married. And I can confidently say that it's the best choice I've ever made. So as I was listening to Amy explaining really how this thing works, you have to be clear, like crystal clear of the thing you want. I don't know what you have to do. Is it go on the internet and download all the images you can? Like you, in your head, you have to know what it is. But also you have to believe that you deserve it. You have to believe, you have to be okay with, like it belongs to you, you deserve it. And it's like somehow you have to be crazy enough to believe that this thing wants you and it's coming to you. Like you have to have faith that somebody else will look at you and call you a crazy person. That's the kind of faith that you have to have in the thing that you want. After that, you kind of have to quiet your world. You have to be quiet enough to kind of pick up on the cues when they come. Because if you allow a lot of noise, you won't hear. I call them guards. I call them guardians and angels. When they are whispering to you, you won't hear. When they are sending representatives, you won't hear. When the big breakthrough comes, you won't hear. And you have to hear and move to then get the thing too. You have to be internally quiet. And for you to be able to kind of hear the internal message, the outside can't be noisy. Otherwise, there were like a million guys trying to marry me. And I would just be like, no. And I wouldn't even bother. But when this guy came, my heart was like, yes. And I'm like, huh? A strange man on the internet in a Zoom room. I was like, okay, this is a trickery. I want to sleep over it. I slept again. I said, please release the angels, release everyone. This is rescue mission 911. I have a guy in my Zoom room who wants to marry me. Please release the angels and send away this guy if he is not. And I had the same thing. Yes. And I'm like, no way. That day, I kept dodging him. He sent me messages and I'm like, no, like this cannot be true. I went to chat. I said, Mother Mary, send away this guy right now. No matter where I cried and ran, everything pointed back. But I told my friends, I said, you guys, I have seen the guy, but not only have I seen the guy, he's coming here. And everyone was like, okay, slow down. And I was like, okay, mute.
Well,
but internally, I really had like that peace, that knowing. It was like just right. And so what I'm pushing for here is that you have to know how to hear your, I don't know, you have to hear the truth. Internally, you have to hear the truth. Otherwise, if there's so much noise, it won't make sense. Because some of it will come like Amy in a Zoom room, and some of it will come from a podcast interview, and some of it will come from a pitch on email. The answers come in different places, and sometimes they're wrapped in sandpaper. But if you have the conviction and the belief and the faith, and you have a quiet mind, and hopefully asked for rescue mission, I don't know what you call it, in your faith, and knowing that there is guardians and angels, you have a team to take care of you, that these things will come to life. I don't know what else to say for this to land home. What is there anything you want to add? Because I feel like this is a big deal. This is how quantum leaps come to life. And this is how I've moved, but I've never surrendered. Oh, it's my ego. I've never surrendered to like manifestation. I've never surrendered to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that thing. It's like, it might be a different word for you, but it's essentially this. It's practicing, it's having faith, and then practicing the actions that what you're having faith in your heart can come to pass, and it will. And you don't know how, it doesn't make sense, but somehow it does come to pass. And it comes to pass. Not even on the timeline that you think, but it also might come to pass on the timeline you think. Like you're just not sure. You're just putting trust forward. So in closing, I think what I would say, I think a lot is go big. The cave you fear holds the treasure you seek. So in order to become our highest selves, in order to become like in full alignment with ourselves and to live in abundance, we are going to have to get uncomfortable, because we are sloughing off past generational patterns and all of the things that could happen, that have happened to us, right? We're sloughing those off, and we're essentially rebirthing ourselves. And so that will require some discomfort as you come back into alignment. And so understand that the cave you fear, going through the fear, holds the treasure you seek, that dream life that you want. It is in that treasure is there, and it is yours. You just have to claim it and understand that you're worthy of it, that you can have it, and to go after it. So that's how I would wrap it up, is go big, dream big. You can have that you want.
I love that. And knowing that your big dream does not exist on the same block that your comfort likes to reside. Like those two blocks are not together. So there is the big dream, and then there is the comfort, and those are not friends. So it's also embracing the unknown, embracing the dark, embracing the gray line, and kind of just going all out. Amy Sanders, how do you support people behind the scenes to create a business and life they deserve? Like if somebody was listening to us and going, oh my God, can you hold my hand? Oh my God, can I work with you? In what capacity are you accepting people to work with you right now?
Yes. I have a couple spots in my one-on-one spaces. Those fill up really fast, but a couple open up. But everything I do is around that awareness, coming into alignment, and then teaching you how to live in abundance. And I have a group coaching program. It's called the Thrive Her Academy. And that's exactly what it is. It's just an academy to teach you how to thrive. And there is like some one-on-one coaching. You will get real time with me as well in that group coaching program. And you can find it just on my website at amysanders.co, or my Instagram is Coach Amy Sanders. So pretty easy. And it's a powerful, just awesome group space that I'm very proud of. I love the women that are in there. They're doing big, awesome things. And I'd love to have you join me if you're interested. So yeah.
In the show notes, we'll be putting links to be able to access Amy's services. What I would like to suggest is booking a call and seeing if you're a fit at all for any of the things, and also feeling the energy and having a chat with her to like see if she sees where you're going and if she believes she can take you there. Because I believe that business or life or coaching is an energetic thing. It's a soul thing. And so there has to be a match with the souls. But this is an intuitive podcast. So if you're listening, chances are you already know within your bone marrow if this is the thing you want or no. Also, the other thing is on this podcast, this is how things work. I want you to envision me creating a triangle. So there is this leg, and this leg. How this works is we have the gifted soul. This is Amy Sanders here. She really has a gift in helping people pull out their genius and be authentic with who they are and use that genius or that uniqueness to create a life and business they deserve, to do some big, awesome, amazing things that they love. I am over here and my work is simply to translate the soul. Whatever the message Amy is trying to deliver, my goal is to make sure that I simplify it in a way that it matches whoever is listening. So my goal is to really just simplify and translate this message in a way that it cannot be mistaken. And down here on the base, we have a foundation, and that's you, the listener. And really just your work is like you've been chosen to be the vessel of the message. So my question for you is, are you the recipient of the message, or do you know someone whose life depends on it? Because that is the only reason you'd be listening. You either need this work, like oxygen, or somebody you know, first degree separation. Literally their life depends on this work right now. And so what I'd like to do to honor this guest is pause and think who needs to hear this message. And all you have to do is copy the link, put it in their private space and say, I listened to this podcast and I thought about it. That's all you have to do. And once they listen, because they've been chosen, the rest is done. Like the rest is, this is like karma work. The rest is pretty much done. But Amy's soul, Amy's work only exists because somebody in the world is crying for the help. And because you're watching, you're the vessel for the message. And so that's really just how this work moves on this podcast. Otherwise, you can support the podcast is please follow, please review, please rate, comment. I don't know how many things you can do on whatever platform you're on. Just do those things. Takes a minute, moves mountains. Other than that, I want to appreciate you for tagging with us, for really listening to this. And I really hope that it's moved the needle for you where you are. I hope it's been helpful for you. I hope you found value in it. Amy, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us. But most especially, I just want to thank you for that time when you were in the wilderness, when no one saw you, when nobody celebrated you, but you made it either way. As we come to an end, what would you like to leave with us? What are those words of wisdom you want us to stay with?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what I've said is just do the thing with fear. Trust that you're worthy of it. Understand that everyone is meant to live big. Everyone's meant to really, truly grow into the best version of themselves. And the best way to do that is to dream big and to move from self-trust. Understand that you're worthy of your big dreams. Go after them. You absolutely can have them. I'm a living example of that. And I love showing other people how to do the same thing.
But the last thing I'll end up with is you might have been born in Uganda like I was. You might have been born in a family that believes they're cursed. You might have been born in a family where nothing is happening, no money, no nothing. You might have been brought up in a way that all of the patterns, conditions, programs don't do you any service. That's not your fault. But staying that way, deciding not to get away, deciding not to do the conscious work, deciding not to reverse that, that's on you. After listening to this podcast, staying on autopilot, that's on you. There's big dreams out there awaiting you. There are lives waiting to be impacted. And until you give yourself the chance to choose your own programs and choose your own operating system, that may never happen because they will never experience the true person that you are. If you're held in the beliefs and patterns that you're not good enough and you're, I don't know, you're not born or put here for big things. And so my last word for you is choose the path of self-awareness and give yourself a chance to say that your life was a life well lived. Because you can create the life you want, and you can create the business you want, and you can create the impact you want, because there is every help possible, starting with Amy Sanders. I hope you take this to work. I hope you do the things that you need to do, step into the best version of yourself. Until next time, I appreciate you. Have a good one.